What does the future look like when it comes to Waymo, Zoox, and other self-driving cars regarding killing people, regarding deaths? This is a very, I'm going to say it, dark take. And that is this. Society will accept a death caused by a robotaxi, Waymo co-CEO says. We know it's not perfection. This brings up, as you can imagine, a massive can of worms. I think more philosophical than anything, which is something that will come up in this video. This is a crazy take, but I'll be honest, I actually, if I had to pick, do I agree or disagree, and you had to like make me pick one, I might agree. I think that this is not something that will be that far-fetched, even maybe now or in the future. And, so let's go down here. Waymo co-CEO believes that in the future, one bad crash would not topple her growing self-driving car company, she said, in a signal of confidence about the public's changing faith in autonomous vehicles. I agree, because there has been a lot of studies and reports to show, and I've mentioned this in a lot of videos, less traffic violations, less accidents, and less injuries related to those accidents when they do happen with a Waymo. It's now been, I know as you would use the word proven, but you could argue that is now pretty much a statistical fact. You're safer being in a Waymo than with a human driver. It's now kind of a thing. Now, is Waymo perfect? God, no. But it is partly true. And I think this is where things get very, very interesting. As you can imagine, it brings up a huge can of worms because accidents are inevitable. There's unless maybe there's like some minority report kind of situation in the future where there's only autonomous vehicles on the road and they're all in sync with each other, even then, things could happen, right? And here's the thing. The topic of a fatal robotaxi crash or Waymo crash came up during the interview. And she said she was talking about Waymo's ambitions and got answer after answer about the company's all-consuming focus on safety. The most interesting part of the interview arrived when she brought up the thought experiment. What if self-driving cars like Waymo and others reduce the number of traffic fatalities in the United States, like I mentioned, but a self-driving vehicle does eventually cause a fatal crash, which is inevitable. I hate to say it, because let's say a self-driving car is driving and someone T-bones it. It might even be Waymo's fault, but let's say it is Waymo's fault. Like, you might so argue, yes, even if a death does happen, you're still safer being in Waymo. In a very interesting way, there have been rare reports, like say, I'm making this up, of like say seatbelts, where by you wearing a seatbelt, there have been deaths that have been caused by seatbelt, let's say getting locked or glitched up or warped. And if the person wasn't wearing their seatbelt, they actually would have lived. Kind of unfortunate to say, but then you have to look at it like this. Well, yes, there are situations, they're rare, that wearing a seatbelt actually has caused deaths. You're still way better off, of course, wearing a seatbelt, right? And here's the thing. When it comes to a fatal crash, will society accept that? This is the person interviewing the co-CEO. Will society accept a death potentially caused by a robot? I think that society will. I think the challenge for us is making sure that society has a high enough bar in safety that companies are held to. And again, I do agree where it's like, yeah, you may have a death, but it's like, let's say there's one, and I'm making numbers up. Let's say there's one out of every 1 million Waymo rides that have a death. That's going to be a lot less than, let's say, one out of every 100,000 rides with humans, or one out of every 50,000 rides, whatever the exact statistic is. I do agree with this, that she said that companies should be transparent about their records by publishing data about how many crashes they're involved in. She pointed to the hub of safety information on Waymo's website. Self-driving cars will dramatically and have drastically reduced crashes, but not by 100%. We have to be in this open and honest dialogue about the fact that we know it's not perfection. Talking about, again, fatal crashes, we really worry as a company about those days. As far as I know, there's not been one that's happened yet. I feel like they would have already brought it up. We don't say whether, we say when, and we plan for them. And I think that is a good approach to have. I know it's a bit dark. I know this video is a bit dark too. Very different than my, I think sometimes on this channel, my like darkest or most dismal videos about how Uber and Lyft doesn't treat their drivers well. And now we're talking about some intense stuff here, but I do think this is a good mindset to have. That, I hate to say it, I do think it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, in a sense, is what she's saying. Following up, when it comes to safety issues, has there been safety issues that prompted Waymo to pump the brakes on its expansion? The co-CEO said the company pulls back and retests all the time, pointing to challenges with blocking emergency vehicles as an example. There have been a lot of issues with Waymo. I've done a couple news articles and reviewed them on this channel of like weird situations with Waymos. Even there was one situation that some girl took a video of some guy stopping the Waymo, and the Waymo did not drive past them to try to get a girl's number, right? And they were like, wow, this is a safety violation. Like a human driver would have like told him to F off or told him to get out of the way or done something more improvised and creative in the moment, right? And here's the big thing. We need to make sure that the performance is backing what we're saying and, of course, what we are doing. Now, I know this is a bit of a dark video, but this is something that is inevitable because I remember learning when self-driving cars, Tesla, really started to become prevalent and they started to look at the algorithms and AI, they actually started to hire a lot of philosophers, which is kind of funny. Back in the day, you used to say like, oh, like once you get your philosophy degree, your job is going to be like, do you want fries with that? But philosophers are now being coveted when it comes to things like ethics because we all remember these in like, elementary school, middle school, high school, even maybe now if you're in college or whatever, of people saying like, okay, we've all seen this, 2 train tracks and you have a lever, and you have road A, road B, and like road A has like say 3 80-year-old people, road B has 1, say 20-year-old person. So you have 3 elderly people, 1 20-year-old person. Which way do you want the train to go? It has to go one of the ways. Do you kill the 20-year-old person, but they're young, but it's only 1 person? Or do you kill the elderly people, and on one you say, hey, they're older, their chance of dying is a lot more, higher than, of course, the 20-year-old person, but now you're killing 3 people. Which one do you pick? And we always do these kind of thought experiments in, in education. I guarantee you've seen a million of these. There's a million of them, like, would you rather, but in a dark way. But these are the questions actually a lot of self-driving car companies are asking, especially Tesla, I think, was one of the first one to really start looking to hiring philosophers because this has been a situation now. Like, let's say Waymo is driving, and again, this is a horrific example, but to use that example again, let's say there's a gridlock, Tesla's driving, an accident just happens, and a Waymo or Tesla, let's say in this case a Waymo, has to make a split-second decision algorithmically, which to a Waymo, in that technology, it can think, a million miles a second. So to us, it seems like a millisecond. To a Waymo, it might be, the pace of a snail in the sense of how fast it can think, but it may have to decide, shoot, there's a 20-year-old male here, 3 80-year-old males here. So we have 4 guys, but if I go this way, I kill 1. If I go this way, I kill 3, but they're older, so their rate of dying is higher. But then if I kill this 1 person, it's only 1 person that dies as opposed to 3. There have been scenarios that they've kind of built into the algorithms. Again, this is dark, but this is the reality of saying, which way do you go? There are going to be some scenarios where a Waymo has to pick the lesser of 2 evils, where it's like, no matter what, someone's going to get hurt. And also, too, let's say a Waymo's driving, something happens, do you hurt the person in your car? That's a decision the Waymo has to make too, where it's like, shoot, I might hit this person, but if I hit them, I hurt them. But if I do this, I think they'll be better off, but the person in my car will be worse off. And again, these are all these crazy philosophical questions that are being pondered. And I hate to say it, I do think it is going to be one of those situations that it's a matter of, like she said, not if, but when. And I think it is, again, for better or for worse, I do think her mindset is kind of correct because once that does happen, as far as I know, I think I would have seen this by now. I think we would have heard this by now. A death related directly to a Waymo has not happened yet. But it's, I think, inevitable, and I know it's going to make headline news. There is a million plus Waymo rides happening every month. Like I've mentioned in different videos, right now it's in LA, San Francisco, Phoenix. You can get it through the Uber app in Austin and Atlanta. It's soon to be in Philadelphia, Miami, Denver, New York. They're doing testing in now. As far as I know, the only 2 big cities that they've not approached yet, it seems like, is Boston and Chicago. Once those 2 are kind of start being evaluated, they pretty much targeted all the major cities. So it's inevitable. I hate to say it, just the more Waymo rides that happen. And so far, they've had a really good track record. So far, their track record has been excellent. So there's no denying that. The Waymo's doing all the things they need to be doing. No denying that. But it is an interesting conundrum, right? And like I said, it is going to be more of a, I think, emotional reaction versus logical, where logically, I know if I'm in a Waymo, I'm way less likely to get injured, to be in an accident, to die. I know it sounds dark, right? I know that. But there is something that's still weird sometimes when I'm in a Waymo and I take them, being like, I'm trusting my faith in this thing, right? But then again, I could see in the future, even maybe now, and for a lot of people, and this, like look at next year, if I had to ask you, would you rather trust a human using a piece of paper and a pencil to do a complicated math equation, or would you trust a calculator? Which one would you pick? Calculator 100 times out of 100 for everybody. And in this case, it could be the next couple of years. People are like, wow, you're really trusting a human driver? In 2030, you trust a human? You trust a human doing math on a piece of paper? Why not just use a calculator? Why not just take a Waymo? Yeah, our calculator is foolproof. Well, it seems like it, but you never know. Maybe sometimes it could glitch up. Computers have bugs. We all know this. Like, technology sometimes can be technology, but at the end of the day, you're still way better off using it when you look at the statistics. And I think that's where we're at with Waymo. So I know a bit of a dark video, but I remember seeing this being like, this is an interesting thing to do a video about because these are the big questions and these are the big kind of things, if it's a word like that people are now talking about. This is the reality of the world we're living in right now, that it's almost inevitable, and how we're going to deal with it's going to be interesting, but the future's here. And I think we, as a society, when it comes to something like this, just to start looking at it full on. And like she's doing, I think she has the right mindset, because I don't know, will it be next year? Will it be this year? Will it be next week? We'll have to see, but things might take a dark turn for Waymo, and I think at that point, that's when things are going to get more interesting about how things are going to evolve with self-driving cars and robotaxis as Waymos continue to get more and more popular.